The cross came flying in from the right side, and honestly, it was the kind of delivery Cristiano Ronaldo spent his entire career turning into legend. The kind of ball that used to feel almost unfair when it found him at the back post. You already knew what was coming. The spring into the air, the impossible hang time, the neck snap, the ball crashing into the net before the goalkeeper even had time to react. It drifted toward the far post perfectly, right into the exact space where Ronaldo was waiting. And then nothing happened. Cristiano Ronaldo did not rise. He did not jump too early. He did not jump too late. He was not shoved, blocked, or beaten in a physical battle. He simply stayed on the ground. A Congo defender stepped in and headed it clear like he was dealing with the most ordinary situation in football. And for him, maybe it was ordinary. Just a simple clearance against a player who once used to be Cristiano Ronaldo. That one frozen moment, the jump that never came, tells you everything about Portugal's World Cup opener. Because while football's other great names were busy adding new chapters to their legacies, Portugal walked onto the pitch against the Democratic Republic of Congo and tried to win a World Cup game with 10 footballers and one monument standing up front. So, let's stop dancing around it and say what everyone saw. The pundits are being careful. The manager is pretending this is normal. But somebody has to say the quiet part out loud. The day before Ronaldo played, the man he has been compared to for nearly 2 decades showed the world what aging greatness can still look like. Lionel Messi scored a hat-trick against Algeria and moved level with Miroslav Klose as the joint highest scorer in World Cup history with 16 goals, twice Ronaldo's total. Kylian Mbappé scored twice and became France's all-time leading scorer. Erling Haaland scored twice in his World Cup debut. The stage was perfectly prepared for Ronaldo to respond. He had the chance to become the first man in football history to score in 6 different World Cups. That was the narrative. That was the moment. That was the Hollywood script waiting for him. Instead, Portugal stumbled to a 1-1 draw against a Congo side ranked among the weakest teams in the tournament, playing in their first World Cup in 52 years. And Ronaldo, the man this entire attacking setup still bends itself around, was almost invisible. The numbers make it even worse. Portugal had 75% possession, 75%. They controlled the ball for almost the whole match and still produced just 1 shot on target. That came in the 6th minute when João Neves headed them in front. Congo, with only a quarter of the ball, finished with more total shots, more shots on target, and a better expected goals total than one of the teams people were calling serious tournament contenders. And Ronaldo, 25 touches, the fewest of any Portugal outfield player who completed the full 90 minutes. 3 shots, not 1 on target. It was the 6th time in his World Cup career that he finished a match without forcing the goalkeeper into a save. But the worst part is not that Ronaldo was doing everything badly. Is that for long stretches, he was doing almost nothing at all. One writer put it perfectly, Ronaldo was not failing loudly. He was disappearing quietly. There was no shocking miss for the highlight reels, no wild volley into Rosette, no obvious disaster clip to pass around online. He was just absent. He was technically on the pitch, but he felt like smoke drifting around the penalty area. Present to count as a player, but not present enough to affect the match. For more than an hour, the greatest goalscorer football has ever seen gave Portugal less than almost anyone else on the field. And when the chances finally came, they told the same painful story. Twice, Portugal cut the ball back from a byline. Twice, Ronaldo had openings. Twice, he dragged the ball wide of the near post. Were they impossible to miss chances? No, but that is exactly the point. The old Cristiano Ronaldo did not need chances to be impossible to miss. He punished half chances. He devoured moments like those. He made defenders pay for even blinking. That version of Ronaldo is gone. This is now 10 consecutive matches at major tournaments, World Cups and Euros, without a goal. 10 matches, more than 800 minutes. His last non-penalty goal at this level came in June 2021. That is not bad form anymore. That is not a dry spell. That is an ending happening in front of the entire world while almost everyone inside Portugal's camp refuses to admit it. And the second chance was not just a miss. It revealed the real problem. Bruno Fernandes was arriving behind him in a better position with a clearer angle and a far better sight of goal. The pass was there. The team goal was there. But Ronaldo stepped into the path and took the chance himself. Thierry Henry, watching on Fox, said exactly what needed to be said. Portugal needed a go. Not Ronaldo. The team needed to score, not him. If Ronaldo moves into the 6-yard box, the defender follows him and Bruno Fernandes likely has a tap-in. But Ronaldo does not make that run. He wants the ball. He wants the goal. He wants the moment to belong to him. And that is the entire Ronaldo problem in one play. The drought has made him desperate. The desperation makes him selfish. And the selfishness hurts Portugal. Which brings us to the obvious question. Why was he still on the pitch for 90 minutes? This is where the conversation has to move away from blaming a 41-year-old player and toward blaming the man who is supposed to be in charge. Roberto Martinez did make changes. He took Bernardo Silva off at halftime. He took Pedro Ni off after 70 minutes. And when he finally introduced another striker, Goncalo Ramos, the player sacrificed was not Ronaldo. It was Vitinha. Think about that. Portugal needed a goal. They brought on a center forward. And instead of removing the center forward, who had not managed a single shot on target, they removed a midfielder just to keep Ronaldo on the pitch. At Euro 2024, Martinez substituted Ronaldo in exactly one of Portugal's 5 matches. The pattern is obvious now. Every player in that squad can be questioned. Every player can be replaced. Every player can pay for a bad performance, except the one player who most clearly needs accountability. Chris Sutton said it live on the BBC, and he was right. It is embarrassing. Martinez is scared to take Ronaldo off. At this point, it does not feel like Martinez manages Portugal. It feels like Ronaldo does. People have started calling Ronaldo the manager of Portugal, and honestly, it no longer feels like a joke. Martinez's explanation after the match only made everything worse. He said it makes no sense to take off the greatest goal scorer in football history when you need goals. And hidden inside that sentence is the word that exposes the entire problem: history. Ronaldo is the greatest goal scorer in football history. History, past tense. Martinez is talking about the player Ronaldo used to be and using that memory to justify the player Ronaldo is now. He is not selecting a current footballer. He is selecting a ghost. And before anyone tries to frame this as one bad night, it is not. The data is too clear to ignore. Across Portugal's last 4 matches in major competitions, Ronaldo has played 396 of a possible 420 in those games. Portugal scored 1 goal in total. When Ronaldo starts, Portugal average 1.9 goals per game, and even that number is inflated by a 9-1 win over Armenia. When Ronaldo does not start, that number rises to 2.8. The difference is not emotional. It is measurable. Portugal score more without him. It is honestly difficult to watch that Congo match and avoid the conclusion that Portugal probably win if Ronaldo simply does not play. And that is where the Messi comparison becomes impossible to ignore, because this is not really about age. Messi is old too, but Messi changed. He adapted. He stopped trying to be the player he was at 25. He dropped deeper. He became the connector, the creator, the brain of the team. He lets younger legs run beyond him and uses his touch, timing, passing, and intelligence to bend games in a different way. Argentina built around an aging legend who accepted reality. Portugal built around an aging legend who still wants the same role he had in his prime. Ronaldo still wants to be the number 9, the target, the center of gravity, the man every cross is aimed toward, but the legs that made that possible are no longer there. The explosion is gone. The separation is gone. The terrifying inevitability is gone. Anything Messi could do this week, Ronaldo could not answer. He could only wait in the box for service that no longer meant the same thing because he cannot attack it like he used to. And to be fair, this is not all on Ronaldo. If an entire country, an entire stadium, and an entire coaching staff kept treating you like the old version of yourself still existed, maybe you would believe it too. If every game you were picked, every chant still carried your name, every sign in the crowd said you were always their GOAT, maybe it would be impossible to accept the truth. Letting go is hard, especially when 1,000 career goals are still shining somewhere in the distance. Especially when Messi is still producing moments. Especially when your whole identity has been built on proving everyone wrong. And there is still a version of Ronaldo that could help Portugal. He could be a late-game emergency option off the bench. A break-glass striker when Portugal need one moment in the box. He could be used in specific situations against tired defenders with the game stretched. Maybe he could even be a decoy standing offside or occupying center backs to open space for others, as Wayne Rooney pointed out. But all of those versions require the same uncomfortable truth. Ronaldo has to be on the bench first. The issue is not that Ronaldo is in the squad. The issue is that he starts, he stays, and he bends the entire team out of shape. Portugal have too much talent to be dragged into this. They are good enough to win the tournament, but they are playing as if one man's legacy matters more than the team's future. And the cruelest part is that Ronaldo arguably should not even have been on the pitch. He was supposed to be suspended for this match after his red card against Ireland. Instead, he received a suspended ban and was allowed to play. A lot of people pointed toward FIFA, the host nation, and the obvious desire to keep the biggest stars in the tournament front and center. One player rating summed it up brutally: Gianni Infantino should not have bothered. Think about that. If FIFA had simply enforced the ban, Portugal would have been forced into a different plan. They would have had to play another striker, use another shape, trust another version of themselves. And they might have won. The favoritism designed to keep Ronaldo on the stage may have ended up hurting Portugal more than helping them. So now, this is where Portugal stand. They have one of the deepest squads in the tournament. Vitinha, Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Rafael Leo, Francisco Conceição. Pace out wide, creativity through the middle, technical quality everywhere. This is a squad that should scare anyone. And yet, for the third major tournament in a row, they are in danger of wasting it. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack depth, not because they lack experience, but because the manager seems too afraid to make the one decision that everyone watching can already see. 10 men and a statue. Portugal are risking another World Cup because nobody inside that setup appears brave enough to move on from what Ronaldo was. They are still feeding the memory, still protecting the image, still pretending the statue might suddenly come back to life. But the statue is not going to score. It cannot do what it once did. The only question now is whether Portugal have anyone with enough courage to finally move it. So, what do you think? Is it time for Portugal to bench Cristiano Ronaldo, or do you still believe he has one last miracle left in him? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe if you do not want to miss the biggest World Cup stories. A perfect cross came in from the right. The kind of delivery Cristiano Ronaldo built his entire career on. The kind of ball that once guaranteed a goal before the defender even reacted. But this time, something felt different. Ronaldo didn't jump. No mistimed run, no heavy challenge, no excuse. He just stayed grounded, and a Congo defender cleared away like it was routine. Like it was nothing special. Like he wasn't facing one of football's greatest ever finishers. That single moment told the story of Portugal's opening World Cup match against the Democratic Republic of Congo. Portugal dominated possession with around 75% of the ball, but couldn't turn control into goals. They managed just one shot on target the entire game. Congo, meanwhile, stayed compact, disciplined, and far more dangerous on transitions, eventually earning a 1-1 draw. Ronaldo's performance summed up the night. Limited touches, few real chances, and no real impact in front of goal. For a player who once defined knockout football, it was another quiet and frustrating outing on the biggest stage. Chances did come. Cutbacks into the box. Half openings. Moments the old Ronaldo would have buried without thinking twice. But this version of him struggled to connect cleanly, and Portugal's attack often looked disconnected around him. The bigger issue, though, wasn't just form, it was structure. Portugal have a talented squad. Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Vitinha, Rafael Leo. But the system still bends heavily around Ronaldo as a central finisher. And when the service doesn't click, the whole attack stalls. Meanwhile, rivals continue to evolve. Teams are built on movement, rotation, and fluid attacking systems. Portugal often look fixed, waiting for one final moment that no longer comes as often as it used to. Even statistically, Portugal have looked more effective in recent matches when playing with more rotation up front rather than relying on a fixed number 9 role. At 41 years old, Ronaldo is no longer the explosive forward who dominated aerial duels and broke defensive lines. But he still draws attention, defenders, and expectations every time he steps on the pitch. And that creates the real question for Portugal. Do they continue building around legacy or adapt fully to what works now? Because one thing is clear from this opener. Control means nothing without conversion. And against organized opponents like Congo, even legends need support systems that move faster than their memory. Portugal didn't lose the match, but they didn't convince either. And as the tournament continues, the pressure will only grow louder, not just on Ronaldo, but on the system built around him.